Namaste. Uh, Thank you so much, Dr. Shakti Prasad Srichandan, Gyanindra Mishraji, and a warm welcome to all of you present here. So as we talk about, the psychological journey of refugees, there are, layers of things that come up as part of their experience as a refugee and as a part of a particular community. So today my talk is based on one, the data collected from a refugee community, and second, my work as a therapist and as a counselor with the refugees' children. So as I talk about the refugees, what you remember is like, when in the 6th century, the Zoroastrians came, they landed in Gujarat. Maharaj Jadirani, send them a symbolic message with a glass full of milk. We all know that. Almost giving a symbolic message that might be we are all full. Like we are like done. We cannot accommodate more people. That was just a symbolic, non-threatening way of welcoming them as well. Like how do we accommodate a new community? Whereas they returned back, adding little sugar to the glass of milk, telling that we are going to be like this here. A subtle message of communication that comes to this today, a long way, telling that how a natural assimilation happens when a new community who arrives in this land is ready to be with us and dissolve. On this note, there are Kushanas and Sakas. People came from different parts of the world to this land in search of many different things: settlement, meaning, purpose, power, wealth, resources, because everything this land has, everything to offer. So on this note, as we talk about the history of refugees coming to this country, the struggle has never been less for them. I would divide this, as Sakti told, like there are 4 categories, 4 phases of how a refugee comes and settles. I want to take all of you through what they experience psychological and emotionally as they start their journey or even before. In my experience, as I talk to the refugees, their children, their family members, their second generation family members, the answer is it was like a very dark moment where there was a small light that if we take this decision of leaving this land, might be there is hope. And on this note, they start to plan sometimes even decades before. Sometimes with refugees, they don't even plan, they're forced. So whatever is the context, as they know that they are leaving the land they called as their own, there is higher order of fear. The fear of loss of their identity, the fear of loss of whatever they own, the fear of being rejected, the fear of being vulnerable, and the fear of uncertainty. There is immense insecurity they feel because they don't know what is it that would assure you that they are definitely going to reach. So that sense of definitiveness is lacking and missing. Hence, it's a very shaky phase that they start their journey, almost with very little thing in their hands. It's all the more difficult when they have a settled family there, with little land, with a little bit of business, and they have to let go of all of that. Especially with the cases of Hindus in Pakistan. They have to leave the country because there is hatred. They're not accepted. They feel serious helplessness. And there is a sadness that they have to also abandon their family members. With this psychological context, they start their journey whenever it is possible for them. Then as we come to during their migration process, it's horror stories. They have to remain secretive sometimes because we all know this is not a legal and formal way of entering into another country. It's a different method they try. So there is vulnerability, and their experience goes into grieving for what they have lost in their country, being unsure of their future, and the serious sense of sadness of what they have already lost in the process. Many times we all know that they have to hide themselves, they have to cross jungles, they have to walk barefoot. There are pregnant women, there are menstruating women, there are small children. One of the refugees told me that when they landed in the country, their daughter was 6 days old, and it was difficult to arrange food for the mother on the way, but they were hell-bent because they had a very elderly person at home who did not want to die in Pakistan because of different funeral and last rituals. They are not allowed. So there, it was like sometimes a sense of desperation that at any cost they are reaching. If they are growing up kids, especially girls, they become victims of abuse, sexual harassment, assault, physical violence, and many times as they journey, they get separated from each other as well. So they don't know whether they are going to meet each other, even in the country of the destination. As they try to reach and as they enter, there is a different journey altogether. They wish that they would feel settled as they reach the land. They wish that life would be different. They try to get into that hopefulness versus helplessness, hopelessness. They constantly battle that we have reached and we are not yet reached. That battle between whether we are already accepted or we have to convince people to be accepted, or so much work to be done to feel accepted. There is a sense that somebody would take care of us. There is a sense that here people would understand us. There is a sense that this country has a lot to offer. We would be taken care. At the same time, the real life situation is very different, even if they are registered as part of a refugee camp. Then, as we know that post-migration, as they are part of the camp, they would wish that the life is like any other citizen or any other resident in the country. But the thing is that their settlement continues sometimes for more than a decade. It is not only for the Muslim refugees, it could be for any refugees for that matter. It is not a reaction that they have come from another country, hence we do not accept them. It is a reality that there is a procedure, not only politically and socially, also psychologically, how much they have brought with themselves, with their feelings, and sometimes they are in a hurry also to go back. So what to be done, what not to be done, that's also a challenge for the coordinators and the social workers at the grassroots level. Not to minimize the importance of the language. So their psychological, as they settle down, their psychological journey becomes very, very different. What they thought of, what they imagine, what they aspire for, versus the reality in the camp. Sometimes the reality is, what they thought that India has to offer to us. I am a Tibetan, or I am a Sri Lankan refugee, I'm a Tamil refugee, or I'm a Hindu refugee from Pakistan. I am not a Muslim refugee. Their struggle is not less, or their process to be accepted and the process to be settling down is not any way different from a Muslim refugee who comes as a Rohingya or from Afghanistan or any other country for that matter. First, I want to highlight what are the things that really create threatening situations and challenges. One is language and languaging. Languaging plays a very important role, because what they feel, they have a difficulty to communicate, might be with fear, might be they experience fear that people will not understand us. There is actually a language challenge. We don't understand what they speak. Sometimes Sindhis have difficulty, sometimes Rohingyas have difficulty. Here we don't have that many translators. Second, the languaging. If they feel their version is helplessness, if their version is I am feeling very inferior, if their version is I am feeling rejected, here we tell them that you are marginalized, you are underprivileged. So there is a big gap between what we are trying to offer and what they are actually requiring from us. Second, there are challenges in each camp with each different religious community, the challenges are different. So without understanding that, if we are already ready with a certain narrative, that the moment a refugee comes, we have to be ready with certain things and have to offer, it's sometimes a wastage of our resources. So the interpretation of these people when they land in our country, the actual finding out and understanding their struggle in their language, would help us go a long way. I'll come to the second part. As part of the psychology, what constitutes, what influences, and what makes somebody's psychology such a complex phenomena is their belief and their values. This is so strong that as they come to this country, we know that if anything they carry with them, that is their belief, that is their culture, that's their way of life. As when it comes to different religious communities, they would like to practice and profess what they believe in. So their belief, their values, their memory, their attitudes, their thought process, and how they have been brought up, the traumas they have gone through, it is all part of their lives in this new country. Most of the time, it's very naive to say that they were ignorant or they were innocent. The thing is that it's very naive to say that they don't know the sentiment of people in this country. As they carry their sentiment here, they would like to be taken care as they are. Sometimes it's a difficult situation. So when we carry our belief, we would like that we protect it. At the same time, when we land in a host nation, they would like how their belief, their value system is not threatened by a new belief system, or it is not at least disrupted on a regular basis. So as a therapist, my question is, do we assess their mental orientation to adjust and accommodate in this country? Most of the time, so far, it is really not. Do we assess their willingness to change in a changed environment? Most of the time, the answer is no. Do we prepare them about the laws of this land and especially the sentiment of this people? So we understand we carry different baggages. The thing is that when I am needing something from the other person, I need to be ready and I need to be prepared to give something. So psychologically, many times, people from different religion have their own agendas, have their own very rigid structures of operating, how their life has to be. So that creates difficulty also for the host nation, sometimes public resentment among the local community. Then I will come to the third point, which is like catering to the needs of refugees versus overcompensating. As these people also feel guilt of leaving their land, they carry lots of suffering, their sorrows, they also pass it on to other people psychologically. So sometimes we can acknowledge their struggle, we can acknowledge their sadness, we can definitely validate what these teenage girls would have gone through while they were traveling in herds, together, like hundreds of people, what they have gone through. While we could acknowledge and validate that, we cannot do anything to undo that feeling because that is their real experience of life. Like as if we become the victims of a natural calamity here, we can provide psychosocial care, but we cannot undo the experience of a small baby who was hearing the noise of the tsunami. Because that is the experience of this person that is going to influence the personality. So we need to work at that level, that psychosocial support is provided at the right time so that the child doesn't become a victim of post-traumatic stress disorder. The person does not develop the dysfunctionality or the fear that I cannot stay near in a coastal area camp. So here that healthy intervention has to come, and not overcompensating, like, okay, immediately do the Aadhaar card or, get into this. These are all the political requirements. While that can happen parallelly, the psychological understanding must be extended of what they have gone through. And we must be mindful that we cannot take away their experience and give something new that shakes their identity immediately. They need to be believed, they need to be listened to, and they need to be attended what they have gone through. And sometimes also, as a host nation, we need to talk about our limitation and also our helplessness, that what we cannot offer. Fourth, I would talk about the relevance and the value addition to the host nation. We must know when, any person who is trying to formally go to another country, like migrate to another country, settle down, preparation stage starts few years before. They get prepared, they invest something financially, emotionally, energy and time wise. They get prepared to know about the other country. They, if not anything, they have to go through that, that process of how they can follow the law of that land. They have to abide by their rules, at the least. And naturally, cultural assimilation happens. They try to wear clothes so that they're immediately accepted. It's not a threat to their country. They try to accommodate their food style, how they eat, how they sit in the, what is the dining etiquette they follow. Because this is not that the other country needs you to be this. It is your need as a person to feel accepted in the other land. Hence, psychological preparedness that I would be changing myself and I need to add value to the new country where I am going and settling down has to be part of our mindset. Am I relevant as a community, as a person? This feeling of being relevant is very important for them, because if they feel irrelevant, if they feel they are not wanted, they are going to get into other different types of activities which is not part of a formal discourse. They could get into criminal activities, delinquent things, because they don't feel relevant here. So we need to work with them from the day one, that what is the relevance, what is the value addition that they're bringing. We might all celebrate the joy of giving, but trust yourself that receiving is a very difficult phenomenon psychologically. We all as human beings, we like to give others and feel the joy. But when it comes to receiving, it adds also a sense of inferiority that I don't have something. So they also have something, and what is it they could offer? That part has to be, explored in a great detail. If not, it will be otherwise leading to division, conflict, unrestness, delinquent behavior, cynicism, suspicion, that natural emotional state will not be taken care. Hence, their behavior cannot be, in a socially healthy way as we expected from them. So providing psychosocial support to enhance their functionality, to enhance their emotional stability, and enhance their preparedness about what this land has to offer and what this land cannot offer beyond a point, has to be done in different phases. So might be I would like to, stop here and take questions, or I could take questions later.
Thank you, Sushree. As expected, very enlightening talk. And we'll come back with questions in the later half. May I now